Hello. Today's insightful, delightful offering focuses on a skill that you need for the English language paper. If you're with Edexcel, the paper 1 question 4 is what I call the judge question, the evaluation question, asking you to evaluate a text. And I dare say the skill set, the lessons that you learn in this video can be equally applied to paper 2, question 6 in the language exam. Now, with these evaluation questions, what you're basically being asked to do is to judge something, to say how well a writer does or creates or describes something in an extract. Very often, these extracts will be drawn from the genre of the horror or the thriller novel. So what you'll be asked to judge is how well perhaps the writer creates tension or mystery, suspense, fear, whatever. I'm not saying it'll be exclusive to that genre. I'm not saying it'll just ask you about tension. But that seems to be a trend thus far with this exam. Oh, yeah, a little disclaimer, a little warning before we delve any deeper into this video. What I'm going to show you is just my way of doing it. There are other ways. Just because your teacher does it differently doesn't mean either of us is wrong. There may be parallels or conflicts in the way me and your teacher go about doing this. I'm just showing you my way. Does it work? Heck yeah. Last year we bought a script of a lassie who did the exam, one of my students, and she got a level 9 for the reading section of paper 1. So my way does work. It's not the definitive way, it's not the only way, but it does work. And I'm going to roll out 2 pre-prepared paragraphs that will tackle the same bit of evidence from an extract. One will be amazeballs. It'll be the Goldstar standard. High quality, high marks. The other is going to be pretty bobbins. It's going to be a real Johnny No Stars effort because, of course, it's very useful to see what not to do in order to learn. And here you have that evaluation question, question 4, and beneath that, the extract, or at least an extract from an extract. The question and the extract here both come from the 2017 Edexcel paper. It's plucked, I think, from a Victorian thriller called The Woman in White, one of the first whodunits. We'll look at both question and extract, or excerpt, or piece, whatever you want to call it, in the next slide. So you can see here, with the question, I've highlighted key words because it is so useful. It doesn't matter if you're some sort of Stephen Hawking style super smart kid or if you're dumb as an ox. If you highlight or underline key words, it just helps to clarify your task. It ensures that you're answering the question that's set. And of course, with this question, what we're judging, or saying what's done well, is how well the writer has created that atmosphere of mystery. And in the section from the novel, the stuff in red, you can see I've just jumped onto a detail that I believe creates that aura, that atmosphere, that mood or sense of mystery. We'll start by showing the brown stain response first, the poor effort. I'll have a quick read through and then we'll decide why it's so poor. The writer uses language to create the atmosphere, as if it had that moment sprung from the earth or dropped from the heaven. This shows that she is scary. Okay, so a bit of a swing and a miss there. Let's explain why it's not a winner. Well, first of all, it wouldn't hurt, would it, in the point, the stuff in red, to clarify the type of atmosphere. Perhaps a key word from the question would have been prudent there. The quote, I've just kind of cut it and pasted it and splattered it on the page. There are better ways of presenting your evidence. And look at that explanation. It shows it's scary. Well, I've not really explained how or why that quotation is scary. And I'm not even sure that it really addresses the question, which, of course, after all, was about mystery. Maybe I need to be a bit more explicit, linking my explanation to that question. And so, if I can borrow a metaphor from the maternity hospital here, let's abandon that nasty bit of afterbirth you've just seen and proceed straight to the Goldstar response, where a bouncing bonny baby of an exam paragraph awaits us. That's more like it. Mr. Taylor would swear by his mouth almighty that this is a lovely little response. Let's have a quick read of it briefly and break down, using the colour-coded lines, what is making this such soul candy, such a delight to the examiner. Let's deconstruct the point first, see how that works. In the extract, the writer uses description to create an atmosphere of mystery. Well, atmosphere of mystery, of course, is an explicit link to the question. You'll notice beneath that I've got SITE. I'm sure your teacher has told you. Some of the things you need to look for in the extract when you're evaluating are ideas or bits of writing to do with setting, any ideas or themes that relate to the question, and any events that relate to that, which is fine, but I just find cite a little bit restrictive. So I've boosted it to Cite Dad. Dialogue, action, description. And yes, action and event are pretty much the same thing. But with Cite Dad, or Dad, it just broadens the scope of what you can look for. It's sometimes easier to label things as dialogue, what people say, action, what they do, or description, how the writer describes things, rather than faffing around with cite. They're both good, but mine's perhaps an easier win. And as you can see from my point in red, I've gone with description here. The stuff in blue is our evidence, backing up our point. The narrator says of the woman, it had dropped from heaven. What have I done to make this right? Well, first of all, I've embedded my quotation or that evidence. There's a few words of my own just to introduce the quotation. Just clarifies that I'm talking about the woman here. You'll notice also it had ... That's ellipsis. What I'm doing there is refining or reducing my quotation, because sometimes if your quotation's too big, if your evidence is too big and meaty, you just look like some clown who's desperate to fill up space in the exam booklet. You don't like that idea? Let me refer you to the mark scheme. The mark scheme says higher-level candidates will show, quote-unquote, a selection of references that are appropriate/apt and discriminating. Well, I've used ellipsis here. I've been discriminating about which words from that section to include. I've cut out the dead wood, the stuff I don't need. Examiners are going to love that. In green, you've got the explanation. And, oh, frabjous joy, that is some prime rib right there. Let's read it and see why. This successfully suggests to the reader a sense of mystery, because the word heaven makes the woman appear to be almost supernatural. And lock an eye on those words that I've highlighted in yellow, successfully, reader, and because I'm just going to explain now on different slides why they're so useful, why they're vitally contributing to the quality of this response. Well, first of all, I've used an evaluative adverb. The question says to evaluate. One of these adverbs means I'm ticking that box. Why have I drawn that hunky monkey six-pack? Because he's got a rippling pair of pecs there, pectorals. Or, to use as an acronym, great evaluative adverbs, powerfully, effectively, compellingly, and successfully. I've also tonked in some little bonus ones underneath. Hold the wedding though, sir. Hang on a minute. All those evaluative adverbs are there to say how well the writer is doing something. Surely if we're evaluating a text, we can say what the writer is doing wrong. Well, this is true. I mean, some teachers advocate that you should attack the text, find faults and flaws in it. In my experience, even able students at degree level find that very difficult to do, find it very awkward. I mean, let's be honest, the extracts will come from well-respected, published texts. These aren't the illiterate scrawls of some daft booby. We're talking about the cream of the Western world's literary talent here. Edgar Allan Poe's popped up. Conan Doyle has popped up. This extract's from Wilkie Collins. These are well-regarded writers, and it's easier, I would argue, to say what they're doing well. You'll recall that my explanation in green mentioned the reader. I think I said this successfully suggests to the reader. First of all, yes, it is stupid that you have to name-check the reader in every paragraph. You have to talk about the effect on the reader. But you've got to do it. Trust me, you get a job, you'll be asked to do all sorts of stupid things by your boss. Sometimes you've got to shrug and do it. Yes, it makes me angry. The examiner, what, does he think we're so knuckle-draggingly stupid, so dim, that we thought the writer was writing for the garden gnomes or the dust mites? Should go without saying that he's writing for the reader. And yes, you can say there's different types of reader, but ye gods. I mean, if you say to me, bullets can be lethal, I get it. You don't need to say to me, bullets can be lethal to the dude getting shot. So where was I? Oh yeah, mention the effect on the reader. It should go without saying, but apparently it doesn't. God, that was a right old blast of hate, wasn't it? Well, now for a bit of love, because I love the word because. My explanation, you recall, started something like, this successfully suggests to the reader a sense of mystery because. Why am I so enamoured of this delicious connective? I'll tell you why. Because it's a great way to launch an explanation into how that mystery is evoked or created. Put it all together, and what have you got? This successfully suggests to the reader a sense of mystery because the word heaven makes the one appear to be almost supernatural. And you'll notice I'm locking in on that word heaven. This is a nice job then, because I'm saying, yes, it does the job well, and I'm creating mystery, and then I'm saying why or how it creates mystery. So, box tick there. But hold on to your hats, ladles and jelly spoons, because Mr. Taylor's only gone and developed that analysis of the evidence. He's only gone and dipped back into the quote and considered the use of it, which I think creates a kind of sinister, spooky tone here. What have I said? Moreover, the pronoun it successfully reinforces to the reader a sense of mystery as it dehumanises the lady. We wonder if she's a ghost or a mortal being. Now, you can probably realise you serve this up to an examiner, that lad's coming back for seconds. But the stuff in black, you might say, well, you're analysing language there, and you don't have to do that in this exam. This is an evaluation question. You're not analysing language and structure per se. You're absolutely right. However, I'm just going to refer you to the examiner's mark scheme, what he says. He says you can reference writer's technique, but, and this is the quotation, it must support the critical judgment of the text, which is what I've done, really. I've said this is good at creating mystery because these words create this effect. So just to clarify, you don't have to be analysing language in these evaluation questions, but I find it prudent to do so. Smashing. Let's tidy up our tools and mop up. These 2 slides now will very briefly sum up everything I've honked on about in this video. And this slide too. As a parting gift, feel free to pause the video, have a look at this second paragraph in response to that question. Obviously, the quotation this time came from outside of the extract you saw today. Have a go at this. It's a winner. As is this paragraph, rounding off the Holy Trinity. Again, pause and digest it if you fancy. It's good. Some last minute finger wagging before I go. Little warning here, folks. A lot of students, that first paragraph they do is an absolute beaut. But you know what? They get tired, their attention dips, and that quality drops off. And of course, that affects their grade. If you can get 3 to 5 paragraphs of consistent, to use the examiner's terminology, of sustained quality, then you are going to smash it. Oh, yeah. In the video description box, there's a link to my awesome little book, Fast and Furious Tips and Tricks for Smashing It, in the descriptive writing section of this exam paper. And we're done. Finito. Job and knock, as I used to say in my painter decorator days. The evaluation question handled like a champ. Best of luck in that exam.